Hello, what is up? I hope you're all doing well today. So, this is going to be the first episode of Bread of Curiosity. Now, I'm trying to do this a little different. I do have some texts, I do have things written down, but honestly, I like to go at it a little more flexible. So, we're doing this not by the book, to be exact. But let's start off the first episode with the question, how did they think of this? Now, have you ever asked yourself, how did they think of this? I mean, why would you just find a brownish vegetable ball in the ground and think, I'm gonna eat it? Crazy, right? So, I have a lot of these thought processes that happen. Maybe they happen to you too. But hey, this question will have multiple episodes because this question always amazes me for multiple topics. But since I don't want to drift off too much in random directions, I will cover it in different topics. And if you heard the beginning, you can already guess which one that is going to be. So, starting off with the question I already asked, something simple that we all eat and have in our household: potatoes. Crazy, right? Now, potatoes, as you might know, have been a very potent meal part in history for quite a while. However, what is also important to know is that potatoes in its raw form are poisonous if consumed in high amounts. Wow, there you got a history lesson right there. And they aren't very delicious raw anyways. Potatoes are also grown kind of like roots. Now, remember, back in the day, I wonder, did people just pick up whatever they found and ate it straight up to see what it tastes like? I mean, berries and apples, I would understand, as they look very inviting to eat, but potatoes? And when we start to drift off with that thought, we know today that there are numerous things that are poisonous, be it only in certain stages or in general. Think about it. For us to know what something does to a human, there's only two ways that could have happened. They either tested it on something else, or what probably happened, since some of these foods have been discovered so far back, they just ate it and saw what it does. To some of you, that might not even seem strange, but to me, thinking about that first person discovering potatoes seems hilarious. Just imagine, oh look, a weird looking ball attached to roots. I'm gonna eat it. That's just, to me, that sounds strange. And you can go on with that for as long as you like. It can go in several directions, but we're staying with food today. Now, by stretching this thought further, I think of all the things we now know about the different methods for consuming food. I mean, meat, for instance. So someone, and yes, this has been really far back, someone figured out that we as humans enjoy meat. Drifting off a little, so hold that thought. We eat meat today mostly by cooking it, so now I'm throwing in something else. We're going back ages. Fire. Fire has been something we humans use for ages, and I mean ages. Now, if you think of our episode's question, I would say they probably didn't think of fire themselves, rather they saw it somewhere where it was created naturally, and that's where they first got the idea of fire. But then again, think of how you actually create a fire today. Have you ever watched a survival video where someone created a nice fire from nothing? Pretty difficult, and also requires a lot of time. What gets my brain wheels going is the process and tools which you need to create fire. Asking again today's question, how did they think of that? Let's think of a couple of ways they could have seen fire being created. Lightning hit somewhere and the fire started from it. The grass was dry and the heat was high, so it started a bushfire. None of these ways gives someone the idea to use a stone, let alone a firestone, to carve against a rough surface to create sparks. Sparks which you can drop on dry grass to then start a fire off. Now I know you would already say that they discovered these methods probably separately and put them together. The stone carving probably came from making tools, and the sparks, maybe even on accident, got on dry grass, which created the fire. Still though, try to put yourself in that moment. Doesn't it give you just a tiny feeling of, man, amazing? How did they just thought of that? Now going back to the topic of meat. Sorry for the drift off. So naturally, I would guess they saw that animals ate each other. So they thought, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. But then suddenly someone was like, I wonder what it tastes like if I put it on fire. Later days, someone had to think, let me put in the fire only for a quick second. Maybe it tastes different. Now always try to remember, I know that these were processes of people who were maybe testing new ways or stumbled on it by accident. But that's not the point. The point is that I think it's amazing that someone just had a thought like that. And that's what I like about these topics. Just thinking about how they sometimes maybe had a random thought and tested it out. Because today, for you, everything just makes sense because you don't know it any differently. It makes sense to cook certain things or to enjoy other things raw. You know that you can eat meat with multiple cook options and probably have a preferred way. Trying to figure something new out today doesn't seem to be easy because we already know so much about the world. There was so much discovered back in the day because amazingly, it was already there. We just didn't know it yet. But back to the square roots. They didn't have that knowledge. So somewhere along the way, there must have been multiple people getting poisoned because they wanted to try mushrooms, which they saw in the woods, or they thought, oh, I tried a fish once, so let's try that blown up fish over there. Somewhere along the way, there must have been people who just had that simple and random thought, just like Bear Grylls, for instance, if you know who that is. Look at that weird looking thing over there. I'm going to eat it. That's a classic. Just think about that for a second. Look where we have come. Eating used to be about survival, and today it is an elective need. We evolved food to so much more than just fulfilling a basic human need, into something to enjoy, something to think about, a happening to keep in our memories. If you are a person that needs food just for the sake of needing it, don't worry. You might enjoy something else more, maybe even something I talk about in another episode. But still, try to immerse yourself into the question, how did they think of this? You might be amazed on where your mind drifts off to. Have a nice night, guys.